and welcome to Sweet Home California. My name is Jennifer, and I have got a real treat today. I've got Alaska Prepper that is going to be on the show with me today, and I got to interview him for a whole 30 minutes over on This Way Network on my show called Rainbows and Silver Linings. So I'll have a link down in the description so you can see that longer show there. But in the meantime, there's going to be, I'm going to have him on, and we're going to talk about some things we didn't have time to over there. So without further ado, welcome, Alaska Prepper.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I did have a couple more questions for you that my sister-in-law wanted me to ask you. So
Sure.
she wanted to know the outcome of the wax cheese. I think she missed if you had done an update on that.
Oh, she must have missed a few videos. The wax cheese came out great. So just a little bit of background. I have a mentor that does wax cheese, and she has wax cheese that's like 20 years old or more, and she taught me how to do it. So I did a video series on the wax cheese. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 videos where I showed you how to do it, and then
Mhm.
I believe it was after 1 month that we went ahead and broke a piece of cheese open to see how it was, and
Mhm.
then 3 months, and then 6 months, and then 1 year. And
Okay.
I'm happy to say that every single occurrence, the cheese came out great.
All
So I
right. Well,
went all the way out to a year, and the cheese came out great. Now, some people may ask, well, do you have any more that's after a year? No, I haven't. I don't have any more, and I haven't done it again. Not because I don't think it's a great skill to have, but what I do is I try to learn a skill.
mhm.
I try to implement it to see if it works. Once that I see that it works and the results are good, I try to keep those supplies that I know that I would need in order to do that again should I have to do it again.
Mhm.
So I still have the supplies that I need for that, but I haven't done it. If I did that with everything that I show on my videos and that I do, then I would need a warehouse to, be able to keep track of everything. So, once I found out that worked well, and once we went through a whole year reviewing the cheese, I know it
Mhm.
works. I'll be very comfortable with doing that again should I ever have to do it, but I don't do it on a regular basis. And I encourage a lot of people to do, people in general to do. If you get a piece of equipment, don't just put it away, but learn how to use it. It doesn't mean that you have to make it part of your everyday life. At least learn how to use
Mhm.
it before you put it away in what I like to call deep storage. That way, if you ever need to use it, you can be comfortable and confident that you'll be able to use that equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Like we like to go estate sale shopping.
Okay, so yeah.
And yeah, so we got acetylene, oxyacetylene tanks, and we have a
Nice.
neighbor who his business is welding and making steel structures and things. So one weekend where he's going to come over and actually show us the ropes of using that. So if we ever need to use it, then we've got it.
That would be a great skill to have also. That would be a great skill.
Yeah, and there is another one video that I saw from you about making ghee. I
Oh,
don't know
I love ghee.
so
I
turning
love ghee.
all this butter into ghee. How long did it actually take you from start to finish? Because with editing and everything, I'm not sure if that was
Oh
you
no,
know.
well, let me go ahead. Well, I went ahead and did a shorter video where I
Mhm.
was hoping to encourage, which was a lot shorter in time. I think it took less than 15 minutes for that video.
Mhm.
And the reason I did that is because some people they see a video 45 minutes and they're like, I'm not gonna watch it. But I have a video where I literally stand there for I think it was 13 or 15 minutes and made 1 pint of ghee.
So that
So
was
you
real time.
can real time. It was real time. I didn't edit any time out of it or anything like that. It was real time. So I made 1 pint of ghee with 1 pound of butter and
Mhm.
real time, and it came out great. And I did
Mhm.
that for that purpose to make sure that anyone with a short attention span can sit through the video, but so that you can know, hey, I can make a pint in 15 minutes. Let me
Mhm.
give it a try. And then if I like the outcome, I'll go ahead and do a bigger batch,
Mhm.
right?
And butter has
Because uh,
gone up so much in price too, let alone, I guess, ghee. But ghee, the benefits of ghee are, from what I remember, was that it's shelf stable and it's
mhm.
actually healthier. It's healthier than butter. Is that correct? Because you
Well,
kind of
yes,
burn off
it's
the impurities.
ghee. Yep, ghee is the pure fat of the cream. All
Mhm.
you have is the fat of the cream. When you're making ghee, effectively, what you're doing is you're burning off the solids and you're allowing any water in the butter to evaporate.
Mhm.
So uh, once the water in the butter evaporates, you'll notice that it starts burning off the solids and they start dropping to the bottom, and that your butter or ghee starts to turn translucent.
Mhm.
All right, and one of the benefits of it for storage is that it pretty much stores indefinitely,
Mhm.
and you don't need to refrigerate it, and you don't even need to pressure can it. Okay,
Mhm.
I have. Let me see. I think I still have a couple of jars of ghee that I did about 6 years ago. I want to say about 6 years ago, and I still use it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
something that we use on an everyday basis. We love to fry with it. I mean, if you scramble some eggs with ghee, you'll really notice the difference
Okay.
between it
Well,
and
I'm
butter.
looking forward to it. I have stocked up on the butter. Every time butter's been on sale, I bought it. My
Yeah,
husband's
that's
like, "Why are
good.
you buying so much butter?" I'm like, "I'm gonna make ghee," but I haven't actually done it yet. But,
Oh no,
that's
you have to
yeah.
try. You'll love it. I mean, that for frying stuff, that is the very best there is as far as taste, and of course, as far as preparedness goes, it is a great way to store away fats. Let me go ahead and give your viewers a couple of hints on storable fats. In
Okay.
my opinion, all right, this is always my opinion. My opinion, the very best storable fat for long term would be coconut oil. It'll
Okay.
pretty much last indefinitely. I mean, it doesn't go bad. I'm working on a jar of coconut oil that's, I think, 7 years,
Mhm. So
seven
even
years
after you've
past.
opened it, it's okay?
Yep. Even after you open it, the only rule with coconut oil that I follow is, of course, make sure you store it in a cool place, right?
Mhm.
But whenever you're going to dip into it to take coconut oil out of it, make sure that you use a very clean and sanitized utensil,
Sure.
right?
Don't
Because
double
you don't
dip.
want to be double dipping in there and leave
Mhm.
a whole bunch of bacteria in there. So you use a very nice, clean, utensil, a spoon, whatever it is you're using. It's got to be very clean, sanitized.
Mhm.
And then once you're done with it, close it up, put it back. And that oil that I have, we're about halfway done with that tub, and it is perfect. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Not only can you use it for fats to cook with, but coconut oil has a whole bunch of different uses. You can make so many things with it. You can make soap, you can make toothpaste, you can make underarm deodorant, you can use it for lip balm. I mean, the list goes on, right? And
Yeah,
then I would
baking
say that
soda I
this,
hear is really useful too. So I've got a couple big bags of baking soda also, and that I've heard is
absolutely,
good
yes,
for deodorants and laundry
absolutely,
detergent
yep.
and everything.
And then the second best fat, in my opinion, to store for long term would be ghee. It
Okay.
would be ghee, and then I would say lard, but I would
Mhm.
put ghee before lard because ghee just lasts forever and it's delicious, right?
Mhm.
Lard is actually good for you.
Mhm. Well,
It's clean lard.
I got a big bag of pig fat from when we bought our half a pig,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
plan
yeah. Make that
on
into
doing some
lard.
pig fat
Yeah,
too.
you definitely want to render that out. That is
Yeah,
some good fat.
yeah.
So yeah, those I would say those are the top three best
Okay.
fats to store for long term. You don't have to worry about it going rancid. These fats that we buy nowadays, vegetable oil, people that buy that, even some olive oils, they're processed to a point where they will go rancid a lot faster than the more natural oils, I would say.
Okay.
So
Now, in terms of hot packing or cold packing, do you have a preference on that for with the meats?
absolutely, I love cold packed meat.
Oh,
I
better. You
always
like cold
encourage.
packing?
Yes, I do. I always encourage first time canners
Mhm.
to have their first project be cold packed beef, if they eat
Mhm.
beef, of course. And the reason I
Mhm.
say that is because it's so easy to do, very easy. It's very hard to mess up because since you are pressure canning and maybe you mess up a little bit on your sanitation, the pressure canner is going to take care of that, right? The
Mhm.
pressure canner is going to kill pretty much all 100% of the bacteria that's in there. You don't have to worry about maybe having a smudge somewhere or touching something, cross contaminating. You don't have to worry that much. So
Mhm.
for first time canners, I like to tell them to go with beef. The only thing I do when I cold pack my beef is I pack it in there as tight as I can, and then I
Mhm.
put like a teaspoon or a half a teaspoon of salt on there. That's it. And I
Mhm.
always encourage them, when you get your first beef process, the first time you do it, make sure you open one and eat it,
Mhm.
because you're really going to like it, and that's going to encourage you to do more, to continue to do it. Yeah, I think cold packed is the easiest way to do it, and I think it's very tasty and it's very versatile. One hint that I give people is when you cold pack or even hot pack meats, try to keep them bland. Like I only add a little bit of salt to all of the
Mhm.
kinds of meats that I process because it gives you a clean canvas to start with when you want to make a meal.
Right,
So
whether
if
you wanna
you
make spaghetti sauce or you wanna make tacos.
exactly. So if you're gonna and you can cold pack ground beef too. It comes out well
Mhm,
as far as texture goes. So if you're gonna pack ground beef, just pack ground beef with a little salt. That's it. Don't
mhm.
make spaghetti sauce with meat sauce. Don't do any. Just do ground beef and then have your
Now
spaghetti
is
sauce
the
on the
salt
side.
necessary? Like my
No,
father-in-law
nope,
doesn't
it is
can't
not.
have salt, so you
It,
don't
it
have
is
to
not.
put
I
it in
just
there.
like it because to me it brings out more of that flavor. But it
Okay,
is not necessary. You don't have to have it.
okay. Now, going back to just being, being prepared for any eventuality, another couple questions are, what's your thoughts on Bitcoin versus gold versus silver?
I like all three. I like silver the most. I like gold second most. And
Mhm,
Bitcoin, I believe, is a much better currency than paper dollars.
mhm,
Of course, we're going to have our people that always say you can't eat gold and silver. That is true. But if you go to Venezuela, who's had a financial collapse for the last 10 years, they can take 1 ounce of gold and convert it into 3 meals a day for 4 to 5 days for a family of four.
mhm.
So, that's what I like to tell people who say you can't eat gold and silver. You're right, you can't. But you can take that gold or silver and you can convert it into food, in the free market.
Right.
Silver, I believe, is the most undervalued commodity in the entire world,
Mhm,
in the history of mankind at that. Silver, people don't understand, is the second most used commodity in the world, oil
mhm.
being number one. Without silver, if silver were to disappear today, tomorrow we would be back to the 1800 or early
Because it's in all our
1900.
technology.
It's in everything. And not only in our technology, it's in your socks. It's in your pharmaceuticals. Believe it or not, they put silver dust on socks because it's an antimicrobial.
Oh my goodness, I didn't
You know,
realize that.
yeah, it's in almost all the medical stuff that doctors and nurses need in order to
I
treat.
had a friend that, she sold, I think it was called Norwalk. It's
I
a
don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's like a, Tupperware where, you have, parties and you sell to your friends and that kind of thing,
Okay,
but it was antimicrobial. It talked about having silver in the
yeah,
the fabric so that you didn't have things growing on your
yeah.
wash rag, things like that, so
Yeah, so silver I like, and I mean I've done extensive studies on silver. I'm by no means a professional, or
mhm,
expert, but the crust of the earth only has so much silver left, and we are using silver at a deficit every single year. And the reason that the price of silver is manipulated down so much is because I call silver the dollar's kryptonite. You see,
mhm,
governments have to ensure that people don't catch on that these governments, the way that they ensure that people use these is they make you use it because they make it legal tender, i.e., they outlaw any other type of money, even though this is not money. And this is
mhm,
definitely not legal, not lawful. You see,
mhm,
they make this legal tender, but it's not lawful. In the
mhm,
Constitution, it stipulates that this is unlawful money, but they make it legal through their with their pens and their words, right?
sure,
But silver is something that, like you said earlier, is tangible. It's
mhm,
something that has a use case that is needed for a society to run the way that it runs right now. So I say silver is going to be the biggest winner, but I don't put away silver or gold to become rich. I just
mhm,
do it to preserve my wealth because
right, to not
I
lose
hate,
any ground, not necessarily to
yeah,
gain ground.
yeah. I hate the idea of thinking that I can earn $100 today by
Mhm,
working 5 hours, and that in 10 years, that $100 that I earn today can't buy me but 25, $30 worth of stuff that, comparatively to what I could buy today.
right,
And what that is a direct theft of your labor. Is what you're
mhm,
losing. Is you're losing your labor. Now, I like Bitcoin. I love it as a speculative asset, right? Meaning that I bought a little bit of Bitcoin back in 2017, and I used a lot of the profits from that to buy survival food. All
mhm,
right. I used, I took it out when it got high. I took the money out. I paid
mhm,
Uncle Sam his extortion money, and
yeah,
I used the leftovers to buy preps, to buy
Sure.
food for my family, to do stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think that if you use something like cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, if you're savvy enough to do it, obviously,
Mhm.
if you use that kind of stuff to make fiat, then
Mhm.
take that fiat that you earned and turn it into real stuff,
Something
right?
other some other tangible
Yeah.
asset. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
so I mean, I won't get too deep into the Bitcoin thing here because a lot of people just don't understand what
I'm one of those
Bitcoin
that
is.
don't understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
well, I mean,
it
the thing
scares me.
is, a lot of people think that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme, and I'm here to tell you, I've researched this thing for years. I would
Mhm.
look. I'm very tight with my money. All right,
Mhm.
because for all of the reasons I told you, I work for what I have. I don't
Mhm.
want to give it away. So before I bought my first Bitcoin, it took me a few years to be. I was like, no way, I'm never doing that. And finally, I was like, wow, I get it now.
Mhm.
Governments. When you see governments try to get rid of something, it's because that something threatens governments. All right. And look
Yeah.
at how hard governments around the world have been trying to get rid of Bitcoin. They can
Yeah.
never do it. It's impossible for them to get rid of Bitcoin. It's 100% impossible. But that should tell you something that governments are afraid of it enough to try to outlaw it, to try to, to try to bankrupt companies that are a gateway or a bridge onto getting it and things like that.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons is because Bitcoin actually only has a limited supply, something that the government hates to hear. A limited
Mhm.
supply of money? Are you kidding me? You mean I can't print more than as much as I want out of thin air and steal the wealth from the people? I can't do that. No, we can't let that happen. So that's what Bitcoin does, is it
Okay.
allows people to have a currency that is deflationary instead of inflationary, meaning that over time it gains value
Right.
instead of losing value.
Yeah, I'll
But
have
that's
to look.
just the very, very tip top of it.
Yeah, I'll have to look more into it, but yeah, you're encouraging me to at least take that time to look into it for myself. But in regards to silver, I think you've pointed out before that people can get into silver relatively inexpensively because you can just go
Yeah,
through and look through your change, and
yeah,
anything that was made
absolutely.
before 1964 is 90% silver for the dimes
Yes.
and the quarters.
This is a 1964 quarter, okay?
Mhm.
And the reason I took out this quarter is because I want to encourage people to look into silver and
Mhm.
understand silver. This silver quarter is 1964. In 1964, the average gallon of gasoline in the United States was between 21 cents and like 30 cents. So we'll say it's like 25 cents a gallon, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh my
it's in
goodness.
some, yeah, in some places it was 20 cents, in some places it was 30 cents. So let's
Mhm.
say the average 25 cents. So in 1964, the average gallon of gasoline was 25 cents. You can buy one with this quarter right here.
Mhm.
Today, the average price of gasoline is about what, 4.50, something like that.
California, we're up to 6.
Well, I mean the average
Yeah.
nationwide,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So let's say the average price of gasoline in the US today is $4.50. If you take this quarter to a coin shop, you can get about $5 for it,
All right. So there you
which
go.
means that today, this quarter from 1964 was able to retain its purchasing power. Why? Because it's 90% silver, and
Mhm.
silver is real money.
Right.
So,
All right. Well, that is definitely good news. I have where I've emptied out my pockets for years, and a great big huge container. I'm going to go through those soon here and see
yes,
how
absolutely.
much silver I might have in that. So I'll be looking
And
forward to it.
when it comes to I don't consider precious metals something that you have to prepare with. I
Hmm.
always tell people, listen, before you even get into preserving your wealth, or I like to call it excess wealth, before you get into preserving your excess wealth in precious metals, make sure that first you've preserved your wealth in food, in water, first
Yeah.
aid, self-defense, all of the things that you need in order to be prepared for a long crisis, right?
Right.
Now, if you have all of that stuff, if you're in the part of your preparedness plan where you have everything you need, in my opinion, for at least a year, if
Mm-hmm.
you have your emergency budget, if you have some money at home, if you have a little bit of money in the bank, not a lot in the bank, but some money at home to get you through a crisis, right? If you
Mhm.
have all that stuff and you're in the part of your plan where you're just filling in the gaps, pretty much putting in the stuff that you used and rotating it, then I would say, and I'm not a financial advisor, I have to say that because this is the internet.
Right.
I would say that preserving your excess wealth in gold and silver is a great thing to do. And you don't have to do it all at once. The beautiful thing about preserving your wealth in precious metals is that you don't have to buy $100,000 bar. You can
Mhm.
go and buy a quarter, or you can go and buy, let me see, do I have one of these here? Or you can go and just buy yourself a one silver round every
Right.
payday.
Yeah.
Dollar cost average is what I like to say, in consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency meaning that every single month, the first week of the month is when I get my retirement paycheck.
Mhm.
I go to the coin shop, and whatever's in my budget that month, I use to buy silver. I don't care what the price is,
Mhm.
because sometimes the price
'Cause
is
it'll
high,
average out.
sometimes the price is low, right? And you dollar cost average, and slow and steady wins the race.
Mhm.
One of my community members told me that they've been dollar cost averaging for a year now, every payday,
Mhm.
and that they already have like 300 ounces of silver. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow, that's
I'm like, that
fantastic.
is awesome. That is so good to hear. It
Yeah.
makes me so happy to hear that, because one thing that people need to understand is that every time that you use some of these
Mhm.
to convert into silver or gold, these are destroyed. When
Mhm.
you use this to convert into silver or gold, you are taking this out of the system and it
Mhm.
is destroyed. And the
Yeah.
least of those that there are in the system, the sooner that the system will change over to a more just system, in my opinion.
Yeah. My husband and I went to a gun show the other weekend, and there was a vendor there that was selling silver. And I had already
Nice.
started looking at like SD Bullion and some other online places. And so there's such a thing as like the spot price of silver that might be
Mhm.
$25 an ounce. But then,
Sure. It's a
that
premium.
company needs to make their money too. And I don't know what that fee is called,
Sure.
but the
It's a
price over
premium.
spot.
It's a
Yeah.
premium. Yeah.
And so, their $25 an ounce silver is now more like 31, 32, especially after
Yep.
shipping it. So when we went to the gun show, we got a great deal. So I would highly
Yeah.
recommend anybody that's looking into
Absolutely.
getting into silver, try and do it in person with a collector like this that is just trying to turn some of his collected silver into money. And so I think we
Yeah.
got a really good price on what we bought over there.
Some people really gripe about that premium, whatever
Mhm.
it may be. But what I like to explain to people is that, listen, the premium is what gives the silver mobility.
Yes.
And what that means is that the silver miner, he has to actually mine the silver and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
And the spot price, which is the silver price,
Mhm.
is let's say $25. But
Mhm.
how are you going to get that silver from the refinery to the store?
Right,
You
that
know,
store owner, I've
that's
been
a
a store
premium.
owner. I've been
Yeah,
a
that's
store
that's
owner.
a premium.
You gotta pay for your employees, you pay for your
Yeah.
electricity, you pay for the insurance. So, yeah, I mean, when you consider all of that, that's why it's gonna be more expensive online than that guy that is
Mhm.
renting a $25 booth at the gun show.
Yeah, and I mean, when people say expensive, they really have to understand what they're saying. So,
Mhm.
someone asked me about premiums here not too long ago, and they were like, "Do you think that $5 premium is too much?" And I'm like, "Well, consider this. I think it was a couple years ago that silver got hammered down to like $12 an ounce, right?
Mm,
And the premium was like $8 or $9 an ounce, almost 100% premium. That's ridiculous. But at that time, I didn't care. I was dollar cost averaging, right?
mhm,
And so I was buying silver at $21 an ounce, almost 100% premium.
mhm,
And I asked that person, do you think that had you known back then what you know today, would you have been all right with paying $9 premium on a $12 piece of silver? Because
right.
today silver is 20 something dollars. So you know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
25
what's the
plus
real
the
value?
premium.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're purchasing precious metals for the right reasons to preserve your wealth instead
Mhm,
of trying to get rich, then you don't worry about that stuff. You just
right.
dollar cost average and you build it up over the years. And if you're really lucky, you'll never have to use it and you can pass it on to your children.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. My
So yeah,
father-in-law has a huge amount of coins that he inherited from his father. So
yeah,
yeah,
and that's great. Yeah, and
yeah.
one day, let me go
Hopefully
ahead
we
and
never need him.
yeah, I'm not sure how long you want to go on, but I'll end it off with this because you got me talking about silver, and I love
Yeah.
talking about precious metals. But one day, I do believe that in my lifetime, and I'm only a half centurion, so
Hmm.
in my lifetime, I believe that we'll see silver over five, six, 700, maybe $1,000 an ounce.
Wow.
And I don't really care if it ever gets to that much, but I believe we'll see it because silver is so important. Number one, to our way of life. I
Hmm.
mean, you even need silver to bomb someone, right? I think a Tomahawk missile takes like 10 ounces of silver.
Oh my
All right.
goodness.
And that's not going to go away anytime soon. So I mean, I think silver is so needed that is,
Hmm.
and it's so undervalued through manipulation of the banks. I mean, because banks have been getting caught manipulating silver dozens of times. They never go to jail. They just get fined. So to them,
Hmm.
it's just the cost of doing business. That eventually we will have probably a silver crisis
Yeah.
where the government is probably going to say, hey, please turn in your silver. And
Hmm.
people that are holding silver will not turn in their silver. So it's going to end up the free market is going to end up
Well,
fixing that crisis, and the only way that
yeah.
you can fix it is by a higher price.
Yeah. Unless you can, exchange your silver for something else that's a tangible, useful
Yeah,
item.
I
So,
mean, think about it. Silver is money. It really is.
mhm,
It's just that in the last 100 years, the money changers have taken over the system and have made their own silver. You see, this is the silver of the money changers. This is
mhm,
their silver. When you read in the Bible that they say that one day they'll be throwing their silver and their gold onto the streets.
mhm,
To me, the key word in that statement is there. Who is they?
mhm,
They, in my opinion, is the money changers, the people that
mhm.
have been in humanity for so long. They will be throwing their silver and gold onto the streets, whereas the real money that God gave us will again be used by the people who should be using it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Well,
believe that, and it's a great way to preserve your wealth, and I believe that everyone ought to have a little bit.
all right. Well, I really appreciate your time. I'm going to respect it. And we said about an hour, and that's where we're at. So,
Wow.
Alaska Prepper, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure to have you on, and I hope that we can talk to you again soon.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you inviting me. I had a great time, and anytime that you want me to come on, we'll come back on and chat it away. I like to talk, as you probably already seen. So anytime you want me to come back, we'll chat away. All right. Thank you very
All right.
much for having me.
All right. Great. Hold on. Thanks.